Hey there guys, welcome to the next video here on the channel. Now a while back I showed you my duct tape Iron Man gloves which I made here for the Duct Tape Festival, and I really wanted to crank out a tutorial and show you guys how to make these awesome Iron Man gloves out of duct tape and a little bit of LED power. So that's what we're going to be going over in this tutorial. And I'm also going to show you how to put these finger pieces into your gloves, which was something that was lacking in my glove tutorial which I posted a few months ago. So I'm also going to show you how to put the finger pieces onto your fingerless gloves here. So before we get started here on the tutorial, let me show you exactly what they look like at night, because believe me, they look a lot cooler when it's completely dark. So lights please. Okay, yeah, so here's pretty much what they look like. So pretty sweet gloves. You can tell they do light up a decent amount of the area here, which you can't really tell, but that's pretty much what they look like on camera in the dark. So they're pretty cool to make, so let's get started here on making the duct tape Iron Man gloves. Alrighty, let's get started here on making the duct tape Iron Man gloves. The two colors you're going to need for this tutorial are red and chrome here, and you're also going to need two LEDs which are just like this. Now the direct link to these LEDs is in the description box, so you can see where exactly I got these and the specific company that makes them, and they do work out really well for the gloves here. I will be going into more detail on these when we do get to the point when we throw these into the gloves and give them a little bit of LED power. So let's get started here on making the actual gloves out of duct tape. Okay, so if you've already seen my glove tutorial, which you can find over here, then you probably already know a basic way of how to make your gloves. But if you haven't seen that, I would probably recommend you check that out. That's going to pop you into a new window, so you can kind of pause this one and watch that one first. But I'm basically just going to make the gloves I made in that video pretty quickly here. And you know, if you're not used to catching up really quickly with the video, you're probably going to take a little bit of time to do it. So let's get started here on making the gloves. I'm just going to take two strips of tape for me that are about 10 inches long. I'm basically going to make a strip that's going to wrap around the bottom part of my hand here. So I'm going to stick these two strips together just like this. Once again, I'm not spending too much time on this part because I already covered this pretty much in my glove tutorial. So I made a giant long strip here, and I'm just going to wrap it around the bottom part of my hand here. The trick is not to make it very tight. You definitely don't want to make this so tight that you can't get it on and off. So definitely leave a little bit of room. And when you do flex your hand, you should be able to flex it completely without, you know, that preventing you from opening your hand. So that's your first step. So for your next step, leave that part on your hand. I'm going to cut out two more strips that are, these are about 11 to 12 inches long. Remember, if you're making this for your own hand, you can always overshoot a little bit, and then you can just wrap it around and overlap it a little bit. So you don't have to worry about, you know, making it too long. You can always just shorten it once you get to that point. So I just stuck those two strips together, another little spot on the top here, and this part's going to wrap around this part of my hand, like right around my palm. So we're going to stick that right about here, make sure it comes like that, and then I'm just going to seal it up just like this. So yeah, I definitely did overlap a lot on this part, and what we can do now is scoot this forward, and you'll notice that this part is still a sticky side showing, so we can just make sure your hand is open all the way and then stick that part down right on there. So now we have the basis for our glove. So after you've gotten those two pieces on, we have one more part here which we'll cover up right now. So I just took two strips that are about 5 inches long, and that's just going to serve the purpose of bridging the gap right here. So we'll stick those two strips together, and then these four strips will just apply to right about here and just prevent it from coming undone, and it'll cover up that spot that's open right there. So we got that one spot on. We'll take our second one, stick it on the top here, third one on the bottom, and our fourth one, probably wrap this one around and stick it right there. And since these two are probably not connected right, you can take a few little strips and just apply that to all the pieces which you see, all the overlaps, and that'll actually make it one giant solid glove. So now let's work on putting on the fingers and kind of a little flap here in the center so you can bend your hands a little bit better. So pretty much once you've gotten to this point, you can take your glove off, and to do that, just take a pair of scissors here, and you probably want to cut right about here. Just make sure you don't cut yourself or anything. And you just use the pair of scissors to cut this part, and eventually we can connect this with Velcro or tape later. And once that is separated, you can now slip this right off, and we can start working on the fingers. So we're going to work on that next. Okay, so to make the rings that actually go around your fingers, because that's actually what they are, they're actually a bunch of rings that are attached to the glove rather than actually being a part of the glove. They're kind of just rings and then attached to the back. So to do that, we're just going to take a whole bunch of strips. This is our first one here. This one's about 6 inches long, which is probably a little bit of an overkill, but we'll see pretty much in a second here. So you're going to take it and you're just going to fold it in half just like this. And do it as best you can, because it's a little tricky to fold tape in half. Once you get to that point, you're going to pick a finger. I guess I'll start with my index finger. And you can tell, yeah, this is just a little bit of an overkill for this one. You can probably make your strips a little bit shorter. But you want to make sure that it wraps all the way around your finger. Obviously it does with more than enough room to spare, but we just take it like this. And you want to make sure that it's even. Also, make sure that it isn't very tight, because you don't want to cut off your circulation or anything. It'll be a lot easier to get off eventually if it's not very tight. So then just take a small strip and apply it just like this to wrap that around that. And you should be able to slip it on and off just like that without any trouble. So now you're going to do that exact same step, except you're going to do it for every one of your fingers. So each finger is a little bit different size, so you definitely want to make sure that you do compensate for that when you do make your strips. The thumb is obviously going to be the biggest, pinky is going to be the smallest, and you do want to make them small enough so they kind of end right before the part, the joint where your fingers bend. So it's like right before where that is, so that will it'll make it easier for you to bend your fingers eventually when you do eventually make your gloves. So make one for each of your fingers now. Alright, so this is what it looks like after you've gotten all of your rings all cut out and stuck on your fingers. Remember, they should slip on and off really easily, so you definitely redo them if they're extremely tight. If you do have a little problem with the coil on the inside kind of coming undone because that's not stuck down on the inside, you can take a little strip of tape and just stick it and plaster it to the inside of the wall, and then when you do slip it on and off, it won't unravel itself, or it won't try to unravel itself when you slip them on and off. So now let's start with attaching them to your glove here. So to attach the fingers, you're just going to need a whole bunch of little strips like this, and you're going to need to throw your glove on your hand again. We're going to start with our 4 main fingers here, and then the thumb is a little bit different, so I'll show you that separately. But you're going to do this all the exact same way. You're going to slip this one on first, starting with our index finger. You're going to take this strip, this small strip here, and you're just going to connect it right to the top here. So just like this. You want to make sure it's nice and stuck down. So then take your second one, in this case it's the ring finger, and you're just going to stick it right there. Take another one of these strips. And the trick here is making it nice and comfortable. So you definitely want to make sure that when you are sticking these down that it is comfortable, and you don't not like trying to flex too badly when you're trying to move your hand around. So you're just going to continue this process with your ring finger as well as your pinky finger. Just keep on attaching these strips until you have your glove with these small fingers on it. And that's what it looks like after you've gotten all your fingers attached. You should be able to flex your fingers without any trouble because they should be, each pivoting on a different spot, so you won't have any trouble with that. The thumb is a little bit different. You kind of have to slide down here on your thumb, and then you kind of have to attach it in 2 different places, especially if you still have this open here, which you can work on later. So you're probably going to have a little spot here which you can attach it to over here, as well as on the back. The thumb is really the only one that doesn't actually pivot per se, but kind of just sits there, because a lot of the movement is in your hands rather than actually your thumb. So you got that part stuck down there, and then eventually when we do seal this up or apply another strip here, it'll be a little bit easier to attach it here, then kind of make a circle around that and stick it on there. So that's how to put the fingers on. Now let's do a little bit of styling and make sure that it looks a little bit more like fingers. Now you'll notice here on my prototype glove that the fingers are not actually attached on the front, they're just attached on the back, and then they kind of just float back and forth. And I kind of have a little bit of kind of these ramps that lead up to where the fingers are to make them look more like fingers, like they're attached. To do that on your prior gloves, all you have to do is cut out a whole bunch of wedges here in between where the fingers splices are, and just a whole bunch of wedges will make it look like it actually does connect. You probably don't want to actually seal it up against this because it will prevent your fingers from flexing too much, but just attaching them on the back should be more than enough to allow your fingers to flex. So now let's work on putting the LED in here as well as a little bit of styling, and we'll pretty much have our duct tape Iron Man glove. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the LED. Now this is made by a company called Night Eyes, and like I said before, it is in the description, the direct link to this product, so you can buy it right from the company. Basically, it's just a zipper pull kind of LED. You kind of clip it onto your zipper or like your keys, like it shows on the back, and it just allows you to find like your keys or I guess if your zipper, if you're out like in the middle of the night and you can't find it. So it basically just turns on just like this by turning it, and it is a pretty decently bright LED, so it works out perfectly for this. For this, for my gloves here, I didn't actually cut off this whole part on the back here. I just slipped it right in. And I wouldn't recommend you probably snip off this part, which is the clip on the back, because this part actually keeps the whole light inside your glove rather than just being this part, which would probably pop out. I don't know if you can see, but there's kind of like a disc that sits on top of the battery compartment, and that disc kind of lines up directly with the edge of the glove here. So this actually pops inside, and I don't know if you can see, but yeah, there's the clip inside, and it kind of just wedges in between my fingers and prevents the light from going anywhere. So like I said before, these are in the description. You can get those at the company, and these will work perfectly for the Iron Man gloves here. So let's take it off and let's stick it into the glove here. Okay, so first you have to decide where you want it. So I'm going to draw probably a circle right about there. And now at this point you have to take off your gloves and then probably use an X-Acto knife to cut that circle out. Remember, you always want to make it smaller, and then you can always cut the circle bigger. Don't make it too big so that, you know, the light falls right out, and then you won't be able to, you know, get your light in there. So you always cut the hole much smaller, and then you can always cut it bigger from there. So let's take this off, and I will cut that hole out right there, and we'll throw the light inside. So there we have the hole cut there. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means because the LED is just going to sit right inside there. So let's get our LED here. If you're using this specific one, you just take the loop and just kind of tuck it right inside there. And the disc should line up just with the edge of the tape. So you just kind of seal it in there. And there you have your LED inside your Iron Man glove. Now what you can do is take a whole little bit of chrome tape, you know, kind of just you know, decorate it like I do here. I just put a whole bunch of little chrome strips on the top here, as well as a few little chrome spots on the top, kind of making it, highlighting the LED in the center there, which looks really cool. So that's how to make the duct tape Iron Man gloves. It's definitely a really fun creation to make. So that pretty much concludes this awesome tutorial on making the duct tape Iron Man gloves. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Remember, you can get these specific LEDs which I used in the description, so check that out. And I'll catch you guys next time on the channel. Remember, if you're making the exact duplicate of this glove, if you want to make two of them, all you have to do is just copy the exact directions which I just showed you onto your other hand, and you will have two of pretty much the exact same gloves which you can wear and throw your LEDs in, and it's a lot of fun to walk around with duct tape Iron Man gloves. So catch you guys next time on the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the video.